Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is where you're calling in from. We appreciate you being here today. My name is Bo Freeman. I'm our dealer marketing manager, just accompanied by two heavy hitters today. We've got Gary Cotton, one of our sales directors, Nate Anderson, one of our TAM directors. You're in good company today. But Gary, Nate, how you guys feeling today on this wonderful Thursday? How you feeling?
Can't beat it. Better than I deserve. Thanks, Bo.
Awesome. Yeah. So before we turn the time over to these guys to get some of the presentation out of the way, we're going to do our housekeeping items. We do these at every beginning of the webinar so that we can make sure that you guys know what's going on and you're squared away. First item is to remember these webinars are recorded. So we record them, we put them on our Qualsys YouTube channel. So if you need to go back and reference anything we said or pass it on to a coworker that wasn't able to make it, it'll be on YouTube. So watch towards the end of the day, we'll have that uploaded. Next piece of housekeeping is the question section. So if this is your first time to go to webinar, we want you to get familiar with the panel. If you're a veteran, we also want you to engage in this little activity with us. Find that question section. We've got a plethora of TAMs in the background. I think we have all of our TAM leadership in the background. I guess they didn't trust us today. I think they needed to show up and make sure that they were here to handle all the hard questions. So they're in the background answering questions. Ask your questions throughout the webinar. If you're unsure about something or you want to know another piece of information, let those questions fly. If we can't get to all the questions, we'll make sure we answer them in some follow-up emails and things like that. But get in that question section. Let us know your name. Let us know where you're calling in from. And because we're in December, I've been asking questions throughout the series. I want to know what your most favorite Christmas gift is that you've ever received. So as those start to come in, Gary, Nate, what are your guys' favorite Christmas gifts you've ever received?
Gosh, that's a tough one.
Oh man,
Put you on the spot.
totally put us on the spot, but I appreciate it, man.
1985, and it was legendary. The Grasshopper RC car. It was like receiving the Red Ryder BB gun.
Pretty cool, pretty cool. Nate, can you think of something? Think of a good Christmas gift?
Yeah, man, I was definitely an 80s kid as well, but I gotta fast forward a few years. I was born during the 80s, so yeah, my 90s were probably most memorable growing up, and one year I got a bike, and yeah, a pretty awesome bike. You know, that scene from Napoleon Dynamite where he's like, shocks, pigs. Yeah, that was like
one of those kind of bikes.
That was yeah.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing that. We've got some people dropping in the chat. Sylvain, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right. Said you got a train set and that was your favorite gift. That's awesome. I've got a 3-year-old daughter. We got her a train set last year and she plays with it every day. So train sets are great memories. Rick Black says his present cannot be discussed on this forum. So don't know what that is, Rick, but it must have been a pretty cool gift. Tom, he said he got a Red Ryder BB gun with a compass in the stock. Okay. All right. Great present.
Good one.
Who else? We've got some other people. Chris Hanson's calling in from Wisconsin. Nice to see you, Chris. Mark said his son was his best Christmas gift. He was born on December 26th. That's a pretty stinking good Christmas gift.
Can't beat that.
Randy saying a puppy. Let's see who else. A Z50 mini. Okay, NC Honda Z50 mini bike in the 70s. That's what Kenneth Allen said was his best Christmas present. That sounds pretty sweet. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for humoring us with that little activity. We always like to do a little thing just to get to know you guys a little bit more. So once again, that's the question section. Drop your questions in there throughout this webinar. We'll be there to answer them. The next piece of housekeeping we have to take care of is the giveaways. So I know some of you maybe showed up here to possibly win some product. We will be giving away 3 sets of IQ Wi-Fi 6. So 3 winners will get 2 IQ Wi-Fi 6 units. So to qualify for that, you just have to attend the entire webinar. Please stick around until the end because it gives us a report on how long you're in here, and I have to you have to attend to qualify to be one of those winners. So we'll take your information, put it into a random spinning wheel, and it tells me who wins. So if you win, I will reach out to you later today and let you know that you were one of our winners. I believe that's the last piece of housekeeping. We need to do some poll questions. We got 3 poll questions before we jump into the presentation. So please take some time to answer these poll questions. I'm going to leave them up for a good chunk of time so that everybody can get their answers in. But our first poll question, if it wants to pull up here, is have you installed an IQ Wi-Fi 6 unit yet? Okay, we're looking at like almost a 50-50 split. All right, give you guys another 10 seconds here to get your answers in. Awesome, thank you for responding to that poll. So this is kind of a follow-up question to that. So if you have not, so about half of you said you hadn't installed an IQ Wi-Fi 6 unit yet, why have you not? And this is a multiple kind of choice. You can pick whatever applies. And if those answers that we provided don't fit, please drop in the chat what barriers exist to you installing IQ Wi-Fi 6. Let's give you guys another 15-20 seconds here to answer your questions or drop it into the question section. All right, great. Thank you guys for participating in that poll question. We got one more before we get into the presentation. So what other router options do you offer to your customers? So are you a Google, Eero, Ubiquiti, or using somebody else? You can put that in the chat. All right, here's another 10 seconds here. All right, great. Thank you guys so much for your participation in those polls. That helps us understand where you guys are at and how we can help better serve you in the future. So I've been talking enough. Let's get into this. Let's turn the time over to Gary. Gary, tell us a little bit about yourself and then take over the presentation.
Yeah, everybody, thanks for jumping on with us today. We always appreciate you guys participating in these events. A lot of work goes into this, and we hope that we're delivering content that's valuable to you guys and educational and really helps you guys out in the field. So as Bo mentioned, my name is Gary Cotton. I'm the Director of Sales for the Western U.S. Glad to present Wi-Fi 6 today and show you guys a few things that is going to help you gain some business, operate more efficiently, and provide a better service to your customers. Go next slide, please. So guys, I'm glad to see some of you have put in Wi-Fi 6, IQ Wi-Fi 6. I think it's a great product. I think it's a little different Wi-Fi or networking system that's out there today in the sense that it's a fully integrated solution, right? So we've actually partnered with we build the panel, obviously the IQ products, the IQ Panel 4, and it's a fully integrated network to that system. So I think that is something that is kind of unique. There's nothing really on the market like that today. And so some other things too is this product is sold exclusively through distribution, right? So our channel, wholesale distribution, and it's the only thing that's connected to the cloud, right? And that leads to a lot of benefits for your customer in the sense that we can actually service these customers remotely now, right? We can get in, we can make changes, we can adjust and adapt to what the customer's needs are. So big things are fully integrated here, right? So being able to control things off the panel, I'm going to get more into that in a little bit. Sold through distribution, so it's a product for you guys, and the ability to service remotely, I think is key. And one thing I don't want to leave out there is there's some potential for some RMR here, right? I think you've got some great potential for RMR, and as we walk through this presentation, I think you'll see that a little bit more. So, well, let's jump to the next slide. So what is IQ Wi-Fi 6? So IQ Wi-Fi 6 uses the kind of the latest technology out there, Wi-Fi 6 technology. And Wi-Fi 6 just kind of handles data differently. I think that's probably the biggest thing with Wi-Fi 6. How it works with your different devices hanging off the network. It allows for transmitting and receiving data to move throughout the network a lot easier, a lot smoother, and especially in terms of the products you guys are putting in today, right? So you guys are doing a lot of video doorbells, you're doing cameras, you're doing things like that, right? That is pretty taxing and demanding on a network today. And Wi-Fi 6 is the perfect. That's why Wi-Fi 6 was built. It's the perfect solution for that. So, and in fact, when you look in comparison to Wi-Fi 5, what Wi-Fi 6 is doing, it's about 4 times more efficient in dealing with that data than Wi-Fi 5 was, right? So as you're going out there and you're meeting with your customers, it's so simple to sell a Wi-Fi 6 solution because they're facing all kinds of problems today. It's not just on the security side. They're facing problems with their TV. For example, I had a Samsung frame TV in my house, and I had an old Ubiquiti network in there, right? And I just had trouble getting, and Ubiquiti is a good product, by the way. I don't want to discount what they do. I think it's a good product, but it had trouble dealing with my streaming video, and to the point that I was ready to throw away the TV. I thought there's no way it could be the network, right? So at that same time, I had received a new IQ Wi-Fi 6 router, and I put it in my house, and it just worked, right? Everything worked. I still have not had a problem to this day. And it's the way that it manages and works with that data to be able to push that information through back and forth, right? And so I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. And something else that's really critical with what IQ Wi-Fi 6 does is we've actually partitioned the system out, right? So we take and we say, okay, we've got, well, I shouldn't say maybe not partition. That's a familiar. I'm a security guy, right? So I always say partition, but we segment out that network a bit, and we say, okay, this is your run-of-the-mill devices. This is a guest network, and then we have this special security network that your security devices are going to sit on, and it kind of provides segments it and gives kind of a QoS for that side of the network, right? A quality of service. So I think that's pretty important, and I think that's some of the true foundation behind IQ Wi-Fi 6 and what it does. So let's jump to the next slide, please. So what is a mesh network, right? So we've had repeaters and extenders and all that good stuff, right? For years we've hung these devices onto our network. They've just kind of set out there. They've given us further range, but have they helped us out at all? I think that's the question, right? Have those extenders improved or hurt my network? And oftentimes what we don't realize is that those devices can actually hurt our network and how we transmit data and how we send speed. So the big difference with a mesh network type technology is that you've got all these different nodes on the system that actually work together. They're working in conjunction with each other, so they don't interfere and they don't cause those problems. And it makes for a much more seamless experience, right? And I think another piece to a mesh network is redundancy, right? We're in a day and age where everything that we do requires a network. Whether we're watching TV these days, whether we're running our security system on it, whether it's video, whether it's the kids playing games, right? You've got all these things going on, and you want that. Not only do you want that, your customers expect that seamless experience. And I think that's what mesh networks do. They provide redundancy, they provide the proper coverage, and all that good stuff. So and some of the things that you can do within our system and within the back end of our IQ Wi-Fi 6 routers is actually check your signal quality going to your nodes, right? So if you have those nodes out there, I know that Nate has walked me through a couple times on how to check that signal quality going back from my nodes, where if you just drop an extender off your system, you don't have that ability, right? So you want this ecosystem that really works together and makes, again, for that seamless experience. So, Bo, let's go to the next slide, please. So I think this is a good way to kind of lay it out. You know, you've got multiple nodes throughout a business or a home, and to me, I go back to this redundancy piece of it. I think that's the key behind these mesh networks, right? And so, you know, if you've got multiple nodes in your house or your home or your business, and you're running video, or you're running computer systems, or you're running Roblox for the kids, or whatever it may be, right? You want to make sure that you've got everything up and going, and it's routed properly, and oftentimes we have these, you know, we used to put these extenders out there to expand that coverage and make sure that you've got, you know, coverage, you know, inside, you know, in the master bedroom or in the living room or wherever it is. By dropping these nodes off, you can, you know, through different parts of the network, you extend that range and provide that quality of service throughout whatever type of building you're in, right? All right, next slide. And then what is Wi-Fi 6? So obviously it's the newest version of Wi-Fi, right? We went Wi-Fi 4, Wi-Fi 5, Wi-Fi 6. You know, as I mentioned, the speeds are much greater, right? So with Wi-Fi 5, and I don't know, do we have chat going? What was does anybody know the speeds on the max throughput on Wi-Fi 5? Can anybody answer that? It was about 3.5 gigabytes per second, right? And so when we go to Wi-Fi 6, we increase that tremendously, and we're jumping up to a total throughput of about 9.6 gigabytes per second. So speed is a huge thing right out of the gates as soon as you put this in, and I love it because when I went in and I put it in my system, I was testing it out, right? I wanted to see what this thing could do. So I had my speed test on my phone. I'm trying it in different parts of the house. I improved my speed by 70 megabytes per second just by installing Wi-Fi 6. So, you know, when you walk into a home or when talking to one of your customers, it's so easy to connect one of these things up, do some signal test, and actually show, you know, the improved speed. But again, congestion is a problem on networks, right? So, and everything that we do is more demanding on these networks today, whether it's, you know, pushing this video through, streaming your TV services. It's very, very, very taxing on these networks. And Wi-Fi 5, quite frankly, just couldn't handle it, simply because, you know, I look at it like old video systems. I'm sure some of you guys on here, you know, I was selling video years ago, and back in the day, you used to only be able to on a video system, you used to only be able to record video, or you could search video, but you couldn't record and search at the same time, right? So now we're in the day and age where we can record, we can search, we can run analytics, we can do all these things. And I think that's kind of the same thing. We now can do somewhat like multiplexing on these Wi-Fi routers, right? These Wi-Fi routers are very intelligent. They can handle the data. They don't have to wait in line to transmit that data, receive data. Everything talks simultaneously. Everything works together. Everything's very smooth with that, right? So, and going back to it, I think when you get into, you know, these these doorbells, the cameras, there's a lot of solutions out there that operate like extenders, right? That's one of the things that there's plenty of. There's plenty of these extenders, but with Wi-Fi 6 and the IQ Wi-Fi, the ability to have that quality of service within your network is absolutely critical. So definitely explore that as you're putting these systems in, because I think it's a game changer for what you guys do today. Next slide. So there's a couple configurations that we can do on these networks, and we can do standalone versus parallel, right? And I'm going to take it a step further on the back end of things, right? Because we can do standalone versus parallel, and then as a network in a whole and how you manage that network, you can manage it through alarm.com, or you can manage it just like a traditional router where you log into the router, right? So I think those are important things to talk about. But you know, if you're walking into a home and you just don't want to deal with that customer's network and you don't want those challenges that come along with it, I know that probably everybody on this call has experienced that. You walk into a facility, you know, you're dependent on their network. It may not be what you want. You may not have access to it. You may not have all those things. No problem. You know, we can handle that. So we can run these things standalone or parallel to an existing network, and kind of have our own security network on the system, right? So, and in my house, for example, I run it parallel, right? I take and I plug into, you know, my existing router provided by my cable company. I actually shut the Wi-Fi off on that router so that I don't introduce any more interference into it. And I use Wi-Fi, IQ Wi-Fi 6 as my Wi-Fi network, right? Because I get better range, better coverage, better speeds, all that good stuff. So we've got multiple configurations that we can set this up in, and setup is very easy. You plug these things into your network, you run them standalone, however you need to do it. It's very, very, very simple to do, and very easy to install. And as you grow and expand this network out, it's easy. We have a WPS button on there. We can quickly enroll nodes into the network and expand that coverage and what area we're trying to achieve Wi-Fi in. So, but then on the back side of things and the management, I'm sure Nate's going to get into it. So I don't mean to steal your thunder at all, but you know, one of the things when I was originally testing this out is, you know, I'm kind of the old school network guy, right? I still like to go in and type in 192.168.1. You know, 105.1, right? I want to go to that gateway. I want to be able to manage it through a GUI, and I find myself still doing that to this day because I'm not fully used to going through alarm.com and managing my network that way, and that's okay. That's the thing I love about it, right? I can go there, and when I'm ready to transition over to that newer way of doing things, I think that's no problem. Or maybe there isn't. It's a system where there isn't Wi-Fi or alarm.com going to be on site, right? And so we've got the flexibility to do that, to manage it in multiple ways, multiple fashions, and so we kind of cover our bases there. So, Bo, switch slides. All right, so here's to me is the meat and the potatoes of the integration piece of it. So integration was really the first thing that I brought up, and there's nothing like this on the market that I'm aware of. Going through an alarm panel, going through an interface like this, we're changing how your customers are interfacing with their network, right? And so right on your IQ Panel 4, when you integrate the two solutions together, you get a couple things, right? You get a network map, so you can see what the topology of your network looks like, right? You can pause profiles. This is my absolute favorite because I've got an 8-year-old that, as I mentioned, Roblox and stuff like that, loves to play some video games. So when it's time for Noah to go to bed, all I have to do is come over to the IQ panel or through my phone, and I can pause that network and shut his service down. Now, I'm not one for conflict, really. So it's kind of nice that when he knows that internet goes down, you know, he knows Dad's serious, right? He knows that's business, and he needs to start getting ready for bed. So and you can do that with everything. I think, you know, I've used not only this Wi-Fi, you know, this new Wi-Fi today, but I've also done this with Z-Wave and now Power G, you know, automation devices. But being able to control some of those devices in your home and shut things down and do certain things has really just become a way of life in my house, right? So, and I think many of us on the phone, or on this call do the same thing. So another thing is QR codes on a guest network. I think this is an amazing feature because we've all gone to our routers into the master bedroom closet and tried to take photos of the password underneath. We've all been down that path. We've done that. Now what's great is you take your alarm.com application, or you go to the panel, you have your guests scan the QR code, and they're connected to the network, and it makes it super simple, right? And then another thing is speed test, right? We've got this built right into the panel, and we've all gone through the scenario where you're on the phone with technical support, or your internet's slow or something like that, and you want to know what that speed test is. You walk over to the panel, you hit speed test, and boom, it runs through a speed test for you and makes it easy to do. So we're really changing how the consumer is interfacing with the network in a tremendous way. And I think we're making it extremely easy for these customers to really manage their networks, right? And I think it's a great experience and a great thing. So next slide there. And then remote support. So this is something that is coming down the road, but I asked there's probably a bunch of people that don't like me talking about this on this call, but I think it's important that you guys see kind of where we're heading with this product, right? So you've got your IQ Panel 4, you got the IQ Wi-Fi 6. Obviously built into the IQ Panel 4 is LTE. So down the road, what we plan on doing is making it so that even if your network's down locally at a home or a business, then you can go in and you can access that router via LTE and make it where you've got redundancy in your communication path going to that router, right? And I know so many of you on this call, install camera systems today, NVRs and all that stuff. And that would make the difference between having to roll a truck and not roll a truck, right? And anytime, as you guys hear on this, these calls all the time, is stop the truck rolls, right? We're doing everything in our power to limit the amount of service you guys have to do. We want you guys to be more profitable. We want you to be more successful with your customers. And so this is one of the little things that we're gonna put into these panels is access to that network via LTE in the future. So look forward to seeing that and going from there. So I think that's the last slide I have. So we're going to hand it over to my boy Nate Dogg over here, and let him walk us through some of the technology and learn a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Thanks for the introduction there. I definitely appreciate that. So I figured I'd just spend just a minute or two here introducing myself for those of you who I haven't met. My background actually comes from the automation space. So with Jeremy Blakeney's webinar last week, where we spent a little bit of time talking about automation devices, and now this week we're talking about Wi-Fi 6, and of course my background here with my career. This subject is definitely near and dear to my heart. So we talk a lot about automation, security, and now Wi-Fi, and how they all kind of just work together. So just to add what Gary was talking about there at the end with LTE and the features with the panel and with Wi-Fi 6 and how they all kind of complement each other and work together. It's kind of like a fine wine. It gets better with age. It's kind of like my pal Gary's getting better looking the older he gets, man. So these features and benefits are just going to continue to get better with time. So if you want to progress here to the next slide, Bo. Yeah, so if we were in a room, I like asking this question. Who here remembers this, plain old telephone service, or POTS? You know, those of you who have been in the industry for 20 plus years, you probably remember this. This is all we had, you know, back in the day. It was the number one reason why the truck had to get rolled if there was a problem, number one service ticket. And, you know, the reason why behind that, I think, is because we didn't really own the technology in the home. We simply just piggybacked off of it. So we used what we had, and I think most of us would agree we actually did a pretty good job with what we had. But yeah, we were relying on the customer's technology. Same goes for networking, right? Oftentimes we're dealing with customers' existing networking equipment. Maybe they're terrible Wi-Fi connectivity to all the edges and pockets in the house where our cameras need to go and our alarm panels need to sit. So luckily for us, you know, cellular technology improved, and along came alarm.com and a host to manage it all for us. So creating an extremely reliable method for communication, far better than POTS or that plain old telephone service. So technology is continuing to improve, and today one of our biggest costs of doing business is still actually rolling a truck. So as a means to deliver better solutions, we're listening to our customers, and you asked us to create a solution, a network solution that was fully integrated into alarm.com with best of industry back-end support. So let's take a little deeper dive into what that looks like here with Wi-Fi 6. So Bo, if you want to. So Gary just spent a little bit of time kind of talking about Wi-Fi 6 and you know, the capabilities there. So as the connected home becomes a little bit more connected, it's important to really think through the reasons to consider IQ Wi-Fi 6 as a solution. So we, you know, we talk about the panel and how much time we spend making sure the panel itself is certified, why it needs to be super reliable and work well. We integrate that with cloud services, making sure that you can manage it remotely through technologies like LTE, cellular, right? So as mentioned, even though we don't own the cellular network like AT&T or Verizon, or for our friends up north, TELUS, we install a managed solution with a private cell radio, one that's controlled by us and built for us and for the industry. So security RF, generally the security devices are proprietary, or the technology built into them is proprietary. I'm having a hard time speaking, but not something, not just anything, but something that offers us a little bit more control over that environment. So we install them and monitor them in a way that we know that will work before we leave the home, and we'll be able to also have access to the security RF devices remotely as well. So Z-Wave, I'll spend just a little bit of time here talking about Z-Wave. So Z-Wave is a good example where even though it's an open protocol, we've been able to figure out a way to control the overall experience. We've been able to develop some tools for Z-Wave. You know, Jeremy last week spent a little bit of time talking about Z-Wave as kind of a stepping stone for the connected home or the automation only devices as it relates even to PowerG, right? So really cool stuff going on in that area of our industry as well. We've been able to take things like Bluetooth. Again, you know, here's another example. We've been able to take, you know, this open protocol. We've been able to customize it specifically to use in the industry. So we can do things like Bluetooth disarm. So even though these are end user devices like an iPhone, an Android device, etc., we've been able to come up with a way to expose them to the panel and really give you guys the opportunity to sell and to support these devices through the backend with alarm.com. So we'll speak just briefly here about the customer's Wi-Fi. I've kind of touched upon this already, but this is really a bit of a pain point for you, for us, and for our customers, right? So much like POTS, 20 years ago when we'd walk into a home, we'd spend all this time, money, and effort, installing these devices, making sure that they are going to be working reliable. Again, I think we did a pretty good job with what we had, and I think we've done a pretty good job with Wi-Fi devices up to this point, but I think that there's always room for improvement. And just like LTE or 3G radios, when those first rolled out, to solve this problem that we had with POTS, we were listening, and we figured we'd come out with a solution that was really focused in for our industry. So Wi-Fi 6, why Wi-Fi 6? I think it's fair to say that Wi-Fi 6 checks all the boxes. And, not only that, but we've been able to put our own little special sauce on it, making it very specific to our industry. So that's where I think why IQ Wi-Fi 6 comes in. It's purpose built for pros with unique features allowing you to own the network in the home. And let me just continue to show you how that all kind of ties in together here. So, Bill, if you want to share the next slide. So one of the things here that I'll talk just briefly about are the different partitions, is what we're calling these. These are SSIDs, or network names, that are configured right out of the box so that we can separate out our own security devices from end user devices. So the idea behind this is, gone are the days when you, again, have to roll the truck, right? So if you relied on the customer's Wi-Fi, you'd have to figure out what their network names or SSIDs were, maybe get with the customer and figure out what their passwords were, and then get all your devices that you're installing set up and configured appropriately. And I'm sure you've dealt with this. We hear from you that you've dealt with this, where the customer will go in and maybe change an encryption code or a network name, and you get the phone call, why aren't my cameras connecting, or why isn't my alarm panel working as it should? And you have to roll the truck and play the detective and figure out what's going on. So the idea here with Wi-Fi 6 is gone are those days, right? We've got these partitions enabled by default. Our panel IQ products, you just connect them like you would to any other network, and they will automatically move over to this, we're calling it the security partition. So it's completely separate from the network, from the customer's network. They wouldn't be able to control, the SSIDs or the encryptions there. So if you wanted to essentially hand them the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, to the main network, they can go in, change network names or encryptions. That's not going to affect any of the devices that are connected to the security network. So, you guys asked us to create a solution. I think we've been able to deliver here. So one other partition, we're calling it partition 3, is this guest network. So this is enabled by default. You can go in and disable it if you prefer to do that. But this just means that this is actually a completely separate VLAN. So if the customer has guests and they want access to, IoT devices, Internet of Things, or connectivity from their mobile devices or computers or whatnot, they can easily share that information right from the panel, or even right from the alarm.com interface as well. So we'll show you here what that looks like in these next slides. So, Bo, if you wouldn't mind. So one of the things that we heard loud and clear when we came to market with the solution was it needs to have alarm.com integration. So IQ Wi-Fi 6 has that. One of the simple, most single largest differentiator between IQ Wi-Fi 6 and say a Wi-Fi 6 solution that you might buy from Amazon or Google is the fact that we have the ability to control it remotely through our partners at alarm.com. So it's really the key to managing the router in the home long term, and it's really a key to owning, the network. So there are really two sides to this integration. I figured we'd spend just a little bit of time kind of explaining those two sides to the integration. But first, I wanted to put in a little plug. We've started making these little videos here. This is what we call a smart skill video, and this is a smart skill on how to integrate your device. So this video might come through a little choppy, just kind of bear with us, but we'll share it here with you. Is the audio coming through?
I hear it. Do you guys hear it?
I don't hear it.
I do not.
Anyway, so I'll just kind of do a quick voiceover. So the idea here is you'd roll out Wi-Fi 6, you'd install it, and then through mobile tech, you'd go in, find your customer, and then you would have to enter in the MAC address of the controller into alarm.com. And here you can see I'm using my camera. I'm going to scan that MAC address in. And once it's scanned in, it's going to operate much like any other alarm.com device, whether it was a camera or whatnot. Here I'm just labeling it house. I do have to touch the WPS button on the controller, and it will take 3 to 5 minutes here to sync up with alarm.com. But once it's all linked up, I can do things like change the channel, trigger WPS, I can ping a device, I can go in and see all the connected devices, reboot my network, a lot of capabilities here through alarm.com. So these videos are pretty cool. If you are new to seeing some of these videos, the idea here between these smart skills, it's a quick 2 to 3 minute video on a very specific topic. We've got them for panel integration, devices, IQ Wi-Fi 6, and even some of the automation only devices that Jeremy was talking a little bit about last week. And we're just going to continue to grow our portfolio of videos too as time permits. So if you get a chance and want to go and kind of thumb through some of that content, little plug here for our YouTube channel. I know Bo's going to probably talk a little bit more about that too a little later on. So I won't steal too much of your thunder, Bo. So next slide. Okay, so this is the end user slide or the back end view with alarm.com integration. So, again, talking about the two different views here, you've got the end user partner, or excuse me, the end user portal, and then you've got the end user app, right? So from the end user side of integration, you can do things like access your guest network. There's a QR code there you see on my device. I can pull that up fairly quickly, and just with a QR code allow somebody to connect to my guest network. I can quickly see connected devices. Maybe I want to pause and play a profile. So Gary mentioned this idea that you can go in and pause the internet connectivity for maybe you've got a profile labeled kids, or maybe you've got a profile for each one of the kids, that sort of thing. So it gives you a little more control as an end user. Next slide. So this dealer view, and again, this is always we're always trying to improve this and trying to update it, give you more features and benefits at your fingertips. So here's kind of a quick view of what that looks like. You can, again, do things like you can manage your Wi-Fi channels. We do have the capability now through alarm.com in the back end to go in and manage your DFS channels. You can trigger WPS, ping a device. Something like 90% of all network outages or issues are resolved by just a simple reboot. So being able to do that remotely is, I think, a pretty helpful feature there. I can see, a quick overview of what's going on in the house. So, this is an example of what it could look like. This particular system is actually a system that we have set up at our office. So we've got one unit out in the foyer, and we've got a tech support area, a couple different offices, our marketing studio. So I can very high level see the connectivity between each device. I can actually dive in a little bit deeper, look exactly what their percentage is to Wi-Fi connected devices, even to these agents. Pretty cool capability there. And then, we spoke briefly earlier about the security partition. You as the dealer have the ability to go in and actually manage that. So if you wanted to connect, say, other devices to that network, you could go in and easily do that using the back end here as well. So pretty neat capability. And with that, that's pretty much all I had to share, Bo. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come out and participate here in the Wi-Fi 6 webinar. Yeah, if there's any questions that come up that you think we ought to maybe go over, or anybody in the background, I know.
Do you guys see any questions or anything that might be pertinent to pop up real quick in front of the group?
Yep. I've got two. I actually assigned them to you, Bo, hoping you would see them there, but I got the first one here. Is Mark is asking, can you program VPNs into the Wi-Fi 6 router?
That's a great question. Something that we've been asked before, and it's definitely on our radar, but as of yet, we do not have that capability yet. But great question.
And then the other one I had was, can the 5 gigahertz network be disabled?
No. So the way that Wi-Fi 6 network names or SSIDs currently work, it's band steering's enabled automatically. So when you go in and you edit the network name of 5 gigahertz, it effectively is going to edit and change or update, 2.4 as well. So there are some tips and tricks. If you have a device that can only talk 2.4 for whatever reason, we do have them separated on the security partition. So there are some older alarm.com cameras out there. I know that work better on 2.4 versus the 5 gigahertz. So that might be a solution there for you.
Cool. Any other questions that might be good for the group?
We've got them.
Cool.
I'll
Awesome.
let you know if there's any more that pop up there.
Okay, appreciate it. Thanks, Joel. Thanks, Nate. Thanks, Gary. You guys got to listen to me again. Once again, I'm the dealer marketing manager. So you saw kind of the sales perspective, the technical side. Now, what I want to do and what my goal is to help you then take these products and build out marketing plans or messages or value props that make sense to your customers, right? So as we kind of dive into this marketing side, I know there's a lot more technical guys on here, but bear with me. We got a couple more minutes. I'll cruise through my content here. So when looking at kind of the benefit to the end user, right? Like we talked about all this really cool, technologically exciting things, right? That Nate and Gary were talking about. I think the benefits, you can keep them very simple when you're going to go present them to your customers, to the end users, to the homeowners, to the business owners. And I think you're going in and you can cover the foundation of, hey, this is a mesh network, right? And what the mesh network is going to do is it's going to eliminate dead spots. All of us want to be connected to the internet. We want the best connection possible at any place in our home or business. So Wi-Fi 6 the benefit to you is you're going to have better coverage. And then you can take it a step further with how we've kind of discussed that this was purpose built for security professionals, that this is going to integrate with the security system, and it's going to keep cameras, remotes, panels, all of those security devices connected, right? So you can go and tell them, hey, if we come in and put this in, we're going to be able to optimize that system. Kind of as Nate talked about, when you don't control the network and you don't have control over that Wi-Fi network, you don't know what you're going to get. So you can come in and say, hey, you're spending money on this equipment, we want it to perform optimally. Let's get the Wi-Fi 6 in there and make sure everything is connected. And then you can also present to them, hey, because we have this remote capability, because we can work with alarm.com, and Nate just mentioned so many things can be solved by rebooting the network, we're not going to have to roll a truck out to you, right? Or you're not going to have to wait for a service technician. So there's some benefits that you can take from all of kind of this information that we provided, and I think there's some basic benefits that you can then present to your customers. And then just more kind of just some questions to get you thinking about marketing and selling this product, right? And these questions may seem a little bit silly, but they're questions to get your customer thinking and put them in the situation of receiving the benefit of having IQ Wi-Fi 6. Is it important to have fast and consistent Wi-Fi in your home? I think most people are going to answer yes to that. Then you can kind of tell them, hey, Wi-Fi 6 is really fast, it's mesh, it's going to provide that really good coverage in your home. And then another question that might be silly, but it's a question to get them thinking. Is it important that your security cameras and video doorbells are always connected and operating at peak performance? I think most people are going to want that. So then you can talk about the benefits of Wi-Fi 6 and how that's going to help their system operate how it should. I really like this kind of this chart that we've built here. Some of the benefits are geared toward you guys, but then we can help you translate how you could tell those to your customer and make them make sense. So the first thing is, and we're kind of comparing to other solutions out on the market. So the first one is built for security professionals, right? So that's kind of a benefit to you guys, but then you can also take that to your customers. Hey, this system was built to work seamlessly with the security devices that we're coming in and installing in your home. You can talk about the alarm.com integration. Nate kind of briefly touched on that the benefit that provides. It's not having 6 different apps that you need to go to for security and internet. It's, they're all in one right there with alarm.com. And then that allows the remote access. You can talk to them, hey, because we can remotely access this, we're not going to have to send somebody out there. You're not going to be without internet for a long time. We're going to hopefully be able to resolve most issues remotely. And you're also going to be able to remotely access your network through alarm.com as well. I like this one. This one's kind of more for you guys. We're your partner. We value all of your relationships. We're manufacturing this as a partner to help you, not your competitor that many other internet or router providers are. They're direct competitors to security. The IQ panel integration, that's a cool feature. Gary kind of briefly touched on that. That's a cool feature to present to your customers. And then Nate also mentioned the 3 separate SSIDs. So these are all kind of features that you can present to your customers and help them get excited about IQ Wi-Fi 6. And I'm a big kind of customer experience person. So these are some quotes that I found from this, like a Forbes article here. The first one says, loyal customers are 5 times more likely to purchase again and 4 times more likely to refer a friend to the company. And then the other one says, when served with a positive customer experience, 72% of consumers tend to share it with at least 6 others. So if you can provide a very positive customer experience, it's going to provide business. Marketing, it's costly. It's costly to dump money into Google ads or ads on social media. There's a cost associated with it. So generating customers through referrals is a great way to do it. So providing a positive customer experience through IQ Wi-Fi 6 is a great way to do that. Just some more kind of quotes here on customer experience. The first one, I love the first one. Oh goodness, my mouse is going crazy. Good gravy. That first quote there says 87% of customers who say they had a great experience will make another purchase from the company, compared to 18% of customers who had a very poor experience. So if we look at this in terms of IQ Wi-Fi 6, if you go in and you just, you throw in some cameras and you connect them to that router that's down in the basement in the closet, and the cameras don't work sometimes, or they're really slow to load, like that experience versus going in and putting in the mesh network and providing a really solid experience, so cameras do load quickly and that is a good experience, it's going to lead to them purchasing more from you. That's also going to lead to referrals, right? So I know it can be kind of maybe intimidating to try and upsell the Wi-Fi 6, but I think there's some long-term benefit, right? And in generating more customers from that positive customer experience. And so there's some more quotes on there about customer experience. I could talk to you all day about customer experience. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. And I think you guys know that. You all understand how important it is to provide a good experience to your customers. And then just some bullets on how IQ Wi-Fi 6 can provide that superior customer experience. The remote support eliminates visits to keep visits to the home to keep customers happy, right? I think that everybody would have a better experience if they didn't have to have a technician come into their home. So that remote support is a great way to provide that positive customer experience. The alarm.com in that one app, that's a positive customer experience. A really beautiful app. Alarm.com has done such a phenomenal job. Beautiful app where they can access internet and security right there together. The mesh coverage, right? It's going to provide connection. If things are connected and working, that's a good experience for a customer. The Easy Guest Network, Gary kind of mentioned that. I love it. I just like always think of like a grandma coming in with her big iPad trying to put in the Wi-Fi. Like, it's nuts. We got that QR code now. She can get in there with the iPad, scan it, get on the network, get connected and everything. And then the panel integration as well. So just some thoughts, some concepts that you could possibly build marketing campaigns or messages around. If you want any help, if you want to try and sell more IQ Wi-Fi 6, if there's some sort of campaign you have in mind and you need content created, please connect with me. Let's get that done. I know we're about at time here. So Joel, is there maybe one or two more questions that we could bring up, or do you think we've kind of got everything covered in the background, or Joel or Neil or whoever wants to speak up back there?
Let's see, a ton more pop up if I'm being honest with you. You know what? Here's one. Brian asked earlier if the Wi-Fi 6 required to be installed in a home or business that also had a security panel installed. So basically,
I think that's a really good question.
Yep.
It is. Nate, do you want to take that?
Yeah. I think that's a really great question. I mean, we've also had a similar question as it relates to maybe a DSC panel or other security panels for that matter. And by all means, just to kind of reemphasize what Gary was saying, Wi-Fi 6 checks all the boxes. So you aren't going to get, obviously all the same benefits if you don't install, say, an IQ panel with it, but you could certainly install it and you're going to get, Wi-Fi 6 performance, mesh networking capabilities, and you still are going to be able to configure it, through the regular web interface, and you can actually still deploy accessibility or remote connectivity with alarm.com. Alarm.com is also, I guess it's worth mentioning too, alarm.com is also offered to all of our customers, all of your customers, the app without any additional charge. So there's no fee with Wi-Fi 6. So you could essentially roll out Wi-Fi 6 as a solution, hand the customer an alarm.com app, and they would still have, similar functionality with the app as well. So great question.
That was awesome. Thanks, Nate, for taking that. We're about at time here. Gary, Nate, I appreciate you guys coming on and speaking. It was phenomenal. I learned stuff from you both all the time. So I learned some more today. Once again, we do have one last webinar next week in this series. Please join to wrap up the giveaway. We're giving away three lucky winners. We'll get a set of IQ Wi-Fi 6 units. So watch for an email from me if you were one of those winners. Please join us next week as we wrap out the series. It's going to be a good discussion about IQ water valve. And once again, Gary, Nate, appreciate you guys. Thank you all so much for your time today, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.